I'd like to start there with bringing you into where I'd like to start as a focus um, is that change comes from those who want change. Often people say when they're really enjoying Dr. DeGrew or the dialogue that we're in, they say, boy, we need more people here. We need to fill up the football stadiums here because they need to hear this. Change comes from those who want change. And it comes anyway. Just like someone said to me in the last presentation that I did, at the end he says, you know, Maxine, he said, I want all of that you said, but I don't think it'll ever happen. And everyone looked at me waiting for me to denounce what he said. And I found out that uncomfortableness is not resistance. Resistance is when you refuse to allow yourself to feel that uncomfortableness. And I also said to him is, do you know the most powerful thing you just said? You said you want it to happen. I had nothing to say about the fact that he said, I don't think it ever will. Because I wanted hope to stand in that room, not me debating why it will, because it will. But I understand where he was coming from. But I wanted everyone to know that the most powerful thing he had said is that he wants change. Change comes from people who want it. Where I'd like to find out is, since you've heard all of this, because of the dialogue series, after we process the facts we've just heard and say our thoughts on those, the next thing we do is look at how that relates to the life we're living today. What do you see in the life in your community, your neighborhood, your nation, that you can see it's where it is because it's connected. It's that through line that Dr. DeGrew has started with, that through line that has continued all this time, unbroken. People say things have gotten better, but the line of racism from the enslaved period to now is unbroken. If there's trauma present in all of us who have lived and navigated this American land, whether we were here during Jim Crow or slavery, none of us were then, but some of us were here during Jim Crow. I grew up in Jim Crow. There's trauma that's there within me. I'm willing to lean into that pain and that uncomfortableness through my work. It is part of what has led and guided me in this work. So I think whether you lived through those times or not, it's passed on. Where do you see it today? Maybe you see it in trauma, or maybe you see it in subtle ways that on the surface don't look like race, like racism. Someone, what are your thoughts? What do you see today that you can see how it got there, as you heard from slavery, to many of the laws and policies and practices and blindness and lies that have led to today? What are you looking at today that says, this is that, from that through line, this is still what's existing today? Someone.
To anyone who wants to speak, if you just raise your hand.
I have something else before I go with, like how you said with the line. I've noticed, I know we all have, it's kind of like when you go to certain neighborhoods, you see like, okay, Martin Luther King Boulevard, you know, Malcolm X, like way or street or whatever, and it's always like a bad neighborhood, liquor stores on the corner, the roads are all crazy. But then when you go to nicer neighborhoods, there's like Abraham Street or Hamilton Highway, and it's literally like just completely night and day between these names that people in the media, well, all of the names are pretty good, but you just see the difference between the black and white, and then it's kind of like bad and good. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, a powerful name powerful names like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King are on streets that look impoverished and neglected and run down.
Like in a way, well, it's not in a way. It's disrespectful and it's like humiliating to their legacy for them to do all this work for the black community and really everybody in general, because it helps everybody knowing, you know, how we can move forward as a people. And it's just disrespectful to their legacy that you would do something like this.
And so let me ask you, what are you thinking that those in those neighborhoods have disrespected the legacy, or is there something larger? Do you see racism in that, or you see people who don't know how to appreciate something? Because that's a very valuable difference.
Yeah, I think it's systematic,
It's systematic. These are neglected neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And
Yes, ma'am.
even if the people that are there are not doing in the neighborhood what we'd like to see done, the facts of it, when you drill down, is going to be connected to the idea that I forget the name, Dinkness, the oldest living human remain, gets changed to Lucy because it didn't matter what you called her. The honored place that this showed about our society. So a couple just told me that their son was a medical student, and he was living in the medical dormitory, and he was on his bike going to tutor some of the athletes at his college. And he was stopped by a police officer who asked him, why was he in that neighborhood? And he says, I'm a medical student. I'm going to tutor. I live here in the medical dorms. He said, I'm on my way to tutoring session. And the officer said, tutor? You tutor? So how the neighborhood looks does not indicate the problem of the people in the neighborhood. It's what gets done to the people in the neighborhood. You're not valuable enough. And so often it's unconscious. All of these years of not noticing, from the quote, the people that have been lifted up as heroes in your books have been considered heroes. The Confederacy that broke away from the Union, treasons is what they called it. At the end of the war, they were given so much. And they were given two major things that very often people just say, well, y'all lost to the Confederacy. The Confederacy can tell you, but they don't. They didn't lose. They got their story as the K through 12 textbook that you learn all over this country. And they got their names, their likeness on public land, on monuments that we paid for, all taxpayers. And they got their names on schools and many honored places. They get to be heroes. And African Americans, like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, get put on the streets that they considered, it's no problem. The Martin Luther King highway here was planned for Acadian Boulevard. And the business people in Acadian said, no, we would have to change our stationery. And so they did not make it Acadian. The Acadian Thruway was supposed to be Martin Luther King Thruway. But the interstate, you don't have to change your stationery. So those neighborhoods, what are you supposed to think of yourself? Jobs, police profiling. So I don't know that either Malcolm X or Martin Luther King would be sad about their names being in those neighborhoods. But I understand what the image say. I really get your point.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
So what do you see today that you can say is connected to any of that you heard or saw, or something that you didn't think of as racism before, but now you do? Are there any gentrified areas that used to be neighborhoods that were predominantly black neighborhoods or African Americans? And now those areas became very valuable, and what was brought to those areas and done to those areas, did they include the people of the area in what they wanted? Or is gentrification just visited on those areas? There was a debate over where to locate Baton Rouge Community College because they didn't want to put it in an all-black neighborhood. So if this has encouraged you to see more around you that you didn't see before, or this has encouraged you to want to have these conversations, there is a place here in Baton Rouge, and the process that we have, the Dialogue on Race original series, is the only one of its kind in the country. And so now that we're virtual, people all over the country are joining these conversations. And as you heard Dr. Plummer say, in other countries. We have people from other countries joining the conversation all the time. Canada is a big one. New Zealand was another one. We have someone from England that's going to be joining, and we had to find a time where it wouldn't be in the middle of the night for this person to join. So yes, we're international now. So please join. This is right here for you. We're starting to have some in person. So you can join virtually or you can join in person. But I thank you so much for being here, because your being here and staying at this time indicates that you're some of those, or you, for sure, you want change. And you see that you can be a part of it. Anyone want to think about how they can see themselves using more of this education, or see yourself being a part of change? Because guess what? During nowadays, when they have celebrations around the civil rights movement and the passage of the civil rights law, people love to say their parents and grandparents were involved. Very proud of it. And I'm thinking, I grew up in that era. If that many people involved around here, I think I would have known. But so any little thing matters. How would you like to say when they talk about this time that you're in? When they say, well, what were you doing then? What sort of things did you do? What would you like to say you did? And it doesn't have to be anything big. What would you like to say that you did? Oh, love it. We got somebody. Oh, you put the mic back. Okay, yeah. And we're ready after this? Okay. Yeah, they're ready for lunch. So please, go ahead. No, you know. Oh, no, we want to hear from you.
How you doing?
Hi.
Is this on? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, here you go. My name is Lacey. I work with the community
Lacey.
college, but I forgot the question just that quick. But
What would you
The
like to
change.
hear about yourself later? What would you like to see yourself doing?
the thing is, I want to be more intentional at this point because, like, I came to this to talk about the racial trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a biracial female, so I have trauma from both that stems from both sides of my family. So just on, if we're gonna call it the European side, me seeing a lot of racial trauma at an early age kind of affected me going into my adulthood. And so right now, the change I want to be more intentional about is educating my children. Now I have 3 multiracial kids, and they're growing up in this school system not being taught the truth. And like I said, it's the truth. The truth will set you free. So I want to teach them more and educate them more so that I know my kids will be the change.
Yes.
So they're going to help the change for this new generation, because this new generation will lead us and take us where we need to be. Because
You know what? As long as we're still here, we're making a difference.
That's what I
We're
want to do.
taking this nation where it can be.
Yeah.
Never count yourself out. As long as you're alive, you're a part of this.
Yeah.
And I hear that all the time. The next generation is going to, our kids are going to do it. We're doing it, and you can do it right now.
Yeah.
And so what you just did, to walk up to that mic and say, I'm going to be more intentional about the honesty of and the truth about race.
Yes.
If only to my children, you're making a difference. And so you're doing it right now. And so all of you here today are a part of that, the healing and the resiliency of this city. And the mayor of this city is also intentional and very much a part of the resiliency that makes people feel more a part of the city. Because in all the, I've forgotten how old Baton Rouge is, but in all of Baton Rouge, more than 100 years, the first mayor that was black, that wasn't white, I should say, was Kip Holden, and now the first black woman is Sharon Weston Broome. So we're making a difference now, and you're making a difference, and I thank you so much. It's not easy to walk up and have the courage to say the things you just said. So courage is a part of it. You got the courage card today. Thank you. I think one more. I think we are ready, but someone came to my, no, we're going to take you. You'll be the last one.
My name is Alexis Garner, and I'm a freshman at Baton Rouge Community College, and I just want to come up here and say thank you for enlightened me on all this information because we really didn't learn this in my years of school. So I just want to say thank you, and I really learned something today.
I'm so glad. There's a lot more. And thank you for saying that. And I appreciate you as well. Yes. Well, we're just so glad when someone finds it so important to overcome their shyness and speak up. You know, you're probably just what do they think that? A generic shy person who's in a more confident body than you think. Thank all of you again, and enjoy your lunch.
Hello, my name is Phil Smith, Vice Chancellor for Advancement and Executive Director of BRCC Foundation. I want to thank you for joining us today, and for more information, visit www.brccf.org. And remember, dreams do come true.